Welcome to the Forgotten World, where we dive deep into the hidden, forgotten, and often unsettling corners of history. Today, we're going to uncover some of the most chilling experiments ever conducted, ones that crossed the line of ethics and left behind unimaginable suffering. These are stories that most people don't know, or don't want to know, but they shaped the world we live in today. Are you ready for a journey into the darkest side of science? 8. Shocking and dark history. Experiments you won't believe happened. Let's start with a horrifying story from the 20th century. And trust me, you won't believe it happened. The Tuskegee Syphilis Study. Could the government really allow people to suffer for decades just for the sake of research? From 1932 to 1972, the US government studied untreated syphilis in African American men. The catch? They were never told they had the disease, and even after penicillin became widely available, they were never treated. How is this even possible? And how many lives were ruined in the name of science? Let's talk about MKUltra, a covert CIA program that involved mind control experiments with drugs like LSD and even sensory deprivation. But here's the truly chilling part. Most of the subjects had no idea they were part of the experiment. They were dosed with LSD without consent, and it ruined lives. How far should scientists go in the name of national security? And then we have the Nazi medical experiments during World War II. These experiments were carried out on concentration camp prisoners, freezing tests, high-altitude experiments, surgeries without anesthesia. The level of cruelty, it's unimaginable. What could possibly justify testing the limits of human suffering like this? Can you really call this science? Now, onto something more recent. The Stanford prison experiment in 1971. Psychologist Philip Zimbardo created a mock prison to study power dynamics. But when the guards began to abuse their power and the prisoners started suffering, the experiment had to be shut down after just 6 days. What happens when ordinary people are given unchecked authority? And what does this experiment teach us about human nature? But it doesn't stop there. The Little Albert experiment from 1920 conditioned a baby to fear white rats by pairing them with loud, frightening noises. It was supposed to prove that emotions could be conditioned. But at what cost? Was it ethical to manipulate a child's emotional state like that, especially without any consent? And then there's the Milgram obedience experiment. In 1961, Stanley Milgram tested how far people would go in obeying authority figures. The participants were told to administer electric shocks to a person, who was actually an actor. Most continued to shock even when they heard screams of pain. How do you think you'd react if you were in their shoes? Now, this one is truly shocking. The Guatemala syphilis experiment. From 1946 to 1948, US doctors deliberately infected people with syphilis and other diseases in Guatemala. The victims had no idea they were part of the experiment, and they were never treated. How could something like this happen, and for so long without anyone finding out? And if you think it couldn't get any worse, wait until you hear about the Aversion Project. In South Africa during the 1970s and 80s, the military subjected gay soldiers to brutal treatments, shock therapy, chemical castration, in a twisted attempt to cure them. These were horrific violations of human rights. But it raises the question, how much cruelty can a government get away with in the name of reform? These experiments are a stark reminder of what can happen when ethics are ignored in the name of research. But here's the real question. How did these horrifying acts go on for so long without being stopped? And what lessons can we learn from this so history doesn't repeat itself? What do you think about these experiments? Do you believe some of them were justified by their results? Or do they highlight a major failure in human compassion and ethical standards? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to dive deeper into history's darkest moments, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more shocking stories from the forgotten world.